Welcome back to Inside the 12. Pete Souza with King McClure, and we are now joined by women's basketball royalty in 2026. Head coach of Arizona State, Molly Miller, joins us from Tempe. Just an amazing season for you so far, Coach. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love talking hoops, so.
Yeah, we love talking hoops, and we can't help but notice what you're doing out there and how amazing it is. I was talking to King earlier. I called a couple men's games out there last year, and no knock on the previous administration or coaching staff out there, but it was lifeless, right? It was kind of like a flat line when you go to a women's game. Now it's a total vibe, and everybody, not just in your area, but all over the country is talking about it. How did you generate a turnaround like this?
Well, I appreciate that. And when you're trying to revive something and you have so much passion, I think people see that passion and then there's a little buzz generated from that passion. So hopefully there's a little FOMO, you don't want to miss out on the build. And we want to open people with open arms and come be a part of our build. It's a fun brand. It's always been a fun brand to watch. Every stop I've had, we've had a really distinct brand of playing hard, being relentless on the defensive end, having really good character kids as a part of our program. So people can get on board with that.
Coach, you mentioned good character kids, right? You get to campus, you get to Arizona State, you don't really have a team, right? So you had to completely rebuild this roster, all right? We talk about roster construction. I feel like almost every coach is having to do this, but you had to do it times two, right? Because you started from scratch. What went into the thought process of getting certain players, and how do you guys go about evaluating talent?
Yeah, we only have 3 returners from the last roster, and a lot of props to them. They've been great because they went through a transition that was maybe unexpected as well. But then when you're going to the portal, and those are more than quick fixes to me, we're laying the foundation of our program. And when I start this new chapter, I want to do it the right way. And although I want to win yesterday, I want to win tomorrow and in the future. So what that looks like is setting that foundation with great kids. So we were super diligent. I mean, obviously you got to be able to hoop a little bit, but you have to be able to buy in to this process, and this, whether good, bad, or indifferent, it's going to be different. What happened before is not going to happen in the future. So we hit in every area that we needed to hit in terms of character kids, in terms of kids that wanted to compete and had a chip on their shoulder, something to prove, in terms of kids that, it might be their last year, and so they wanted to be their best year, or they're going to help me build it for years to come. And we just had a good mix of that, and a lot of props goes to them. They're kind of a coach says jump, they say how high team. And so when you have that buy-in year one, it's just been a huge blessing. I'm very grateful for this group.
Well, you've made it work, right? I mean, you've got the people who are the type of players that can lead to a 16-2 start. Just an amazing, like we said, turnaround. How do you stick to your core values when you go from a mid-major like Grand Canyon, who you really put on the map on the women's basketball side, but now you're in the Big 12? How do you stay focused and stick to who you are while you accumulate talent on the roster?
Yeah, I mean, the recipe wins, and I've found that out at my different stops. So I want to be pretty convicted to who I am in terms of the brand. The brand transcends levels. It works. It frustrates teams. So from the get-go, you have to kind of establish, and I learned this as parenting. I always say this, I became a better coach when I became a mom, but you kind of have to establish your identity, and you can't take shortcuts. You can't waver from that. I think what kids need these days is reliability. They need direct and instant and very clear feedback. So I tried to give that to them from the get-go, and there's not waver from that. So how we coach our role player is the same how we're going to coach our All-American player, and we're going to uphold those standards, and it's going to be daily habits that build your culture, and that's going to look the same every single day.
Coach, you talk about having high expectations, and when you look ahead, all right, the expectation, you have a game against Kansas. They're coming to you Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern, all right? You took a loss to TCU, and that happens, all right? That's only one of your 2 losses, all right? That happens. So this matchup against Kansas moving forward, what is your expectations in this game?
To get better. We've got to get better from the last one and then the last one, and we can never be satisfied. I think we're in a position where you're always going to have to bring your best game for the next one. And that's the mindset that our team has right now. This is a really good Kansas team, a really good Kansas team. We can't look at their record. They might, in conference records, they're probably the best 1-5 team in the country, in terms of the conference record. So I think we've got to take this game like we've taken every game. This game could determine your fate. It could determine your fate in March, and that's how we've looked at every game. So we'll be ready. I think it's a good bounce back game for us. I'm happy we're finally at home again, but this is a very good team, a very well coached team. We're going to have to get back to our ways. I think we got on our heels a little bit at TCU, and we're used to putting teams on their heels. So we got to get back to that.
Hey, it is working on and off the floor. Arizona State women's basketball coach Molly Miller, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.